That was awesome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Torrent launch. We're about to be taking a behind-the-scenes look at everything that is Alpine Esports becoming Torrent here. I'm Wavepunk, your host. I'll be with you all day, and joining me is my dear friend Wade Dreadnought Penfold, the Vice President of Esports at Wisdom. Wade, thanks so much for taking the time to sit with me.
Thank you very much for honestly joining us in such a relevant moment in our progression here from Alpine going into Torrent. So thank you for being here, and I'm excited to show everybody at home what we've got in store. I'm
excited too, and just for clarity, you are the Vice President of Esports at Wisdom.
Yeah.
This is the Torrent launch.
Yeah.
Why are those two different words?
So I don't know. Language is hard is the answer, really. No, but in reality, Wisdom is the parent company of Torrent.
Okay.
So kind of the same thing, not quite 100% there. So
okay.
Me being the VP of Esports at Wisdom, I very much have a hand in all things Torrent.
Okay, you will hear us talk about Wisdom periodically throughout the course of this show, and that's the context there. You obviously have a lengthy career in esports, and there are many people here, possibly Alpine fans, who have been Alpine fans for a while, who aren't aware of who you are and your relationship to the company. So introduce us a little bit. Who is Wade Dreadnought Penfold, and what made you excited to work with Wisdom?
So I basically started playing professionally when I was about 20 years old for Tempo Storm and Heroes of the Storm. I was the in-game leader in shot caller, and I did that for a couple of years before stepping down and then moving into commentary, which is where I've later met you. Commentated games, Heroes of the Storm, Battle Right, Rocket League, Apex Legends, PUBG, this, that, and the other, before moving into kind of a consultant role for Wisdom for some period of time before I was asked to join the team. And really the driving factor is why Torrent, what attracted me here is honestly having the opportunity to lead and hopefully make an impact with that leadership however I really can.
For sure. Well, and now we are taking your baby of the last year or so with Alpine, and we are giving a new coat of paint here, a new name, new logo. What is the vision behind Torrent? Why Torrent?
There's a lot of it, which I'm sure we'll get into as we go throughout today, that kind of makes up Torrent as a whole. But I would say the fundamental kind of basic idea behind it was we wanted something that we thought was cooler for our fans, more easy for them to find interesting and be able to engage with, but then also something that we felt like was representative of them. And I realized that that's kind of a weird statement. It's like, how can you represent all of your fandom? But that kind of comes down to torrent as a word, capitalizing on both of the interpretations of it, right? First, you have torrential waters, the idea of a torrent, those streams coming together and possibly causing damage, being out of control, very turbulent. And then the other coming from the idea of a torrent protocol and having all these little bits and pieces of something larger be spread out amongst the people and then being funneled in to create this one beautiful thing. And so it's very much tapping into that metaphor of all these little bits and pieces being our fans and our community are actually, at the end of the day, what really makes us the whole and makes us Torrent.
Okay, I do feel like I need to ask this because I know there are fans watching who have been diehard Alpine fans for the however long since they found the organization, and there's a bittersweet moment for them of wait, this is changing. What about the goat? What about the dark goat? I like that thing, right? Like why a rebrand versus just modifying Alpine?
It was mainly because we couldn't push the envelope, I feel like, in some extent. The ibex and the outdoor aesthetics, the green tones, everything about it was really cool and honestly super wholesome and something that we really believed in. But at the same time, it caused it to be very interesting and if you wanted to poke and prod a little bit and kind of push the envelope of what esports banter looked like, it's kind of out of place at certain moments. And to be honest, it wasn't 100% me and my team, I feel like, to some extent. We very much want to build something that we feel like is a little bit more embodying who we are as people. And don't get me wrong, that wholesome element, that community element is a core, but Alpine wasn't the community-focused thing because it was Alpine in and of itself, right? And so those positive elements, we fully intend to be at the core of what Torrent is. But at the end of the day, we feel like, honestly, it looks a little bit more in line with what we think our fans would want, but then it also looks more in line with what the team behind Torrent actually envisions for the brand.
The Alpine and now Torrent is not the logo that represents it, but the people who have rallied around it. So I'm excited to see what this looks like moving forward. Let's talk a little bit more about Torrent now. So how long has this rebranding been in the works? How long have you been working on this?
So I've been working, me specifically, on Alpine and the Esports team and the initiative for about a year, maybe like a little bit longer than that, but specifically, we're rebranding, we are going to do this. It's been from day one to where we are today, about 10 months in total.
Okay, wow, this has been a very meticulous process. What's like the biggest challenge you faced over the course of those 10 months?
Honestly, just keeping my mouth shut was the hardest part. It's something that so much time, energy, and passion kind of went into for myself and many other of my team members to be able to make it happen, that it was kind of like, honestly, just like I wanted to pull my hair out and kind of scream sometimes, because I'm like, we got this cool thing. Or at least I think it's so cool. Like, I would love to share it with you and hear your thoughts. So that was definitely very challenging.
For sure. Well, I'm excited to learn about it and to see what went into this process. So we're actually going to expand our little group, our circle here, with a few of the people who were core in the rebranding and merchandising of Torrent. All right, we have expanded our circle of trust here. The circle of Torrent, circle of something. There's gotta be a joke in there somewhere. I don't know. We've expanded outwards here. We have more people here, and we are on board with, obviously, Wade is still aside me. We have Creative Director of Wisdom, Sam Langer, and Brand Manager of Torrent, Jake Neerlin. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We're really excited with this rebrand, and let's talk specifically about rebranding and the grits, the shapes, the colors, the things that make up a rebrand of an esports organization. Jake, I'm gonna come to you first on this. Let's talk about the overall concepts as a brand manager. What sort of strategy do you look at? What sort of things do you consider before you start to put a pen to a paper?
Sure. So I think step one, for me at least, was trying to figure out what made a brand fun. You know, like what made people want to engage with it. Like that was a very huge element of Alpine, was like, despite being a new brand and relatively small feeling, it still had like a massive community that engaged with it all the time. And so figuring out, you know, what was the essence behind that and indexing super hard into it.
When you're designing a brand like this, what do you start with? Do you start with the name, start with the logo?
I like to pick like an anchor or a grounding element. So that could be a song, a visual, phrase, almost anything. For Torrent, I picked a phrase. It's actually on the front of the Walker Art Center here in Minneapolis. And it's bits and pieces put together to present a semblance of a whole. And it can kind of have like a different interpretation for every single person. For me, from a visual standpoint, you know, for a brand, you have the main pillar logo, that's the Torrent logo, but you have all these little surrounding elements, because we went for a really iconography-based branding. So you have the main pillar, but it really wouldn't be complete without everything else around it. And it just kind of completes the whole package, right? And I wouldn't have been able to do that without my main designer on the project, Sam Gersner. And he and I worked directly with Wade and Jake almost at every single stage, really.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like any logo that we came up with, we would just ship it and chat and say yay, nay. Wade would say, it's not asymmetrical enough or something like that. And, you know, so we really wanted to make sure that we were making the designers happy from a visual point, these two happy from every point, because these guys are like embedded in the communities, right? They know what people will like, what they'll like, all this stuff. That said, probably the best example to go through for this is the logo process. And like we talked about briefly earlier, we went through a lot of different logos and brand identities, and we did take bits and pieces from the previous brand identities and, like Jake said, brought them into Torrent. But it was not easy at all.
Sure. Okay, so once you had a name, you know, we had to have this logo, this core anchor. What was next?
I mean, then it was just a matter of like building it and trying to test it. And so that was basically what I've been doing over the last 6 months on our social media is, you know, if we have an announcement, like with our Apex video that announced HRN was joining us, that was the first time we actually trialed like glitchy hacker effects on a video. And then you know, we go even deeper, and the teasing we did for Apex was the exact same thing we've been doing over the last 7 days, except I figured out what was wrong with it and just did it better. And so just basically every single general reveal we've done over the last 6-ish months have included elements of Torrent. I just haven't made it overtly obvious.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think it was really just a matter of, like, we know this new brand is coming. It's just a matter of when. And it was, you know, it's been a long time. So the best thing I could do with Alpine while trying to maintain a brand for so long was just, you know, play with it.
And like you asked me earlier in the day, you asked me what was some of the biggest challenges, and I admitted it was keeping my mouth shut. And I think if anything, that admits I didn't do a good enough job, because because we very much have been like, what about this idea, and kind of sprinkling it out throughout even Alpine.
Sure, okay. I want to come back for a second to, you mentioned the logo being something that had specific challenges to it that were difficult. What were those challenges?
So we approached the brand from a very, like, iconography base, right? Like, we want the logo to exist without the text. We want it to stand on its own. However, when you go for just that and it's just a simple icon, turns out it's really hard to make a shape your own. Shapes have been done and repeated, and also, so how do we make it our own? So we had 2 main things that we wanted to hit, 3, one being personal for me. The first one hit the water aspect of it, right? So a torrent, flood the system. The shape of the logo is kind of like a swirling whirlpool, right? Like, well, a techie version. The shape itself, hexagon. So this is number 2 is the shape. Super sci-fi, right? Like, hexes are used in cyberpunk and most sci-fi, like, UI designs that you see, things like that. It's just kind of an immediate, like, yeah, that'll fit. That makes sense. Sure. And then the third one would be like the reconstructing, deconstructing aspect of the element. So it's obviously like one entire shape, but there's these little bits and pieces that are kind of glitched out of it, right? And so every single person's going to interpret that differently. It's kind of what I love about logo design and art in general and things like that. And for me, it kind of reads as like it's never done. You hit the checkpoint, but there's always ways to expand on that. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to basically, it will be finished. It is finished. But how do we expand the brand surrounding it, right? And so these, back to the whole bits and pieces line, bits and pieces together to make a whole. And I just think it's really beautiful.
Okay, well, so we're getting out there. We have the brand on merchandise now. I get to interface with it. I'm super excited to have this. For the people at home who are like, when can I get mine? Yeah. When, where, how much? What are the details? Right now.
Right now. Torrent.gg. You can access our merchandise store there. We have all these pieces, and I believe even more than that, available to everybody at home. So please, if you are a fan of what we've been able to do so far, please go ahead and check it out there.
No, I'm super excited to be able to go and get some of my own. Any final thoughts you two have? Jake, we'll start with you.
Yeah, speaking of merch, just we've hidden Easter eggs on most, if not all, of the pieces. So excited to see if people can find them. Tweet at me if you do, but yeah, pay attention to that.
Okay, what did you say?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'm just excited for the variety of where things go, honestly. Where do we build from here?
For sure. I'm excited for fan art, I'm gonna say. Just saying.
I hope so.
Right? People take your own work and modify on it or iterate on it. That'll be pretty crazy. This has been a fantastic conversation to learn about the process of designing the rebrand for Torrent, but the beating heart of any esports organization are its players. Let's go take some time to talk to the Apex squad about their thoughts of the rebrand.
Pain, death, nothing phases me.
I don't relish the title. I relish the kill.
Get ready. I'm coming for you, friend.
All right, here with the Torrent Apex roster, we have Euriece, RKN, and Hill. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We're obviously super excited about the rebrand here to Torrent, and I'm pumped to get a player's perspective. RKN, I've been told you guys were aware that Alpine was rebranding to Torrent when you signed with the team. How much did knowing that rebrand was coming down the pipeline influence your decision to sign?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the major deciding factors when we originally chose We didn't have a lot of offers from any orgs leading up towards champs, and then suddenly out of nowhere we had quite a few offers. And it was a major deciding factor because when we originally were talking, I wasn't the biggest fan of like the current Alpine brand, but then we got a little bit deeper into conversation, spoke a little bit about what's to come and what kind of things were on the table, and being able to be part of building something and making something out of an org is just an incredible opportunity that you don't always get.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds awesome to be able to actually have an influence on the decisions there. Euriece, you knew about it, you signed with the team, but you had to sit on it till now. What has waiting for this announcement been like?
It's definitely been a really long ride. The moment I learned about the rebrand and kind of get to see the sneak peek of what's happening in the future, I just wanted it to happen as soon as I learned about it, and it's definitely been a long wait, and it's worth it that it's here now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're finally here now. You can tell anyone you want. Hill, actually, I want to get all of your thoughts, but I'm going to start with Hill here. Favorite part of Torrent? What aspect of this rebrand grips you the most?
I don't think I can choose one, but the mixture of the color scheme mixed with the, what's the word, like design, the kind of tech hacking streetwear design that we have going on is hands down my most like favorite like clothing style. So I mean, it would like all the pieces just fell right into place for me personally.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Arcan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fan of like the digital type tech vibe that's going on. I always have been. I think when we got an opportunity to get a little preview, a little sneak peek of the merch designs, the just overall design layout that we had going on for the idea of Torrent and what was to come, it just like, it's so much better than what's out there currently. When I look at other orgs, besides 100 Thieves, that other orgs just don't do apparel at this kind of standard.
For sure. Well, 100 Thieves is a merchandising company, right? That happens to have esports players. That's how that works. Anyway,
yeah,
Euriece,
exactly.
Euriece, what's your favorite part of the Torrent rebrand? Obviously, we've talked a lot about the colors, but there's also this whole meaning on the other side of it with flood the system and the duality of a torrent file, and the many parts equaling a whole, and this torrential downpour flooding the system. Like how much does that meaning play into your excitement and enthusiasm to represent Torrent as a player?
It definitely adds on to that energy that you're going to put in, and kind of like what's going to be behind you and what you're going to be representing. And as our team and Apex, we definitely like are energetic when it comes to like tournaments. Try to get as much vibes in there just to match with the gameplay, and I'm really excited to just represent this whole brand.
Man, we saw earlier the Torrent brand on Apex weaponry in the intro to the show, and we've seen them on the characters now from the game as well. Hill, what's it like seeing the brand like on the characters and the weaponry you use as a professional player?
I mean, one, it's awesome. It just looks so good. Two, I wish we had it in a game. I mean.
Maybe one day. Maybe.
It looks too good not for me to run it every pub, every tournament, every match. Come on, man.
We'll see.
And actually, I think that'd be pretty cool too. Like when you see like other players using your team's skin, and you're just fighting against them, like, yo, that's us.
I think a really cool thing about the video render is it's like characters that we kind of identify with and have like been part of our Apex personalities for a long run. To see the Torrent skin on the Pathfinder for Euriece, to see the Torrent skin on Wraith, one of the most classic characters in Apex Legends to date, and to see the Torrent design on Gasu OG, it's just incredible to see. Like it just looks so right.
That was actually sorry about that way, but that was actually one of the core goals. We intentionally asked you guys who you identified with or who you liked the most out of the Apex roster, not what is the most competitively viable, right? Like what is the comp that you're going to be running all the time, but what kind of embodies you guys, because we wanted it to, this may be a little kind of cheesy, but really just to embody like we are presenting you three, right? Like out front, the new brand, the new name, and what are the characters which you guys, again, maybe empathize with or just appreciate the most. I definitely respect your choice, Euriece. Anybody who knows my time in Apex, I'm a big Pathfinder fan. So
from day one, first
From day
competition,
one.
be like Pathfinder's broke, and everyone's like, "What's he talking about?" Lo and behold, here we are. Let's talk about
Pathfinder
ALGS
fan.
for a second here, though. Let's RKN. Let's talk about you. You got the new season coming up here. What can we be expecting from Apex Torrent and the ALGS?
Yeah, I think, a lot of us have been in ALGS from the start, and for a long time we've all been in the top. We're all players that people recognize, people know, and we've consistently been a top 10 team in North America. I mean, we consistently qualify for every ALGS finals and usually come in that top 10 area, but we're not getting those top 5, top 3 placements consistently that we want to see, and that's largely in part due to like kill points and how we approach the game. We're a very rotational based team, and so after doing some VOD review, looking into some things, we're really looking to capitalize on those areas of the game, get those extra points that we're missing out on, because we're currently just a consistently placing team, and we want to take that to the top.
High expectations for the Torrent Apex roster here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Good luck in the ALGS. For now, let's go hop over to the game where it all started and talk to some of the Rocket League players on the Torrent rebrand. All right, here on board with some of our Rocket League players for Torrent. I'm joined by Freya of Torrent White and Majicbear of Torrent. Folks, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and talk about the rebrand. Magic, I'm going to start with you. Super excited to have you here because you've been here since the beginning of Alpine, since the very beginning of this organization. What are your thoughts and emotions around seeing this rebrand come in and now being known as Torrent?
Yeah, going from Alpine to Torrent, since like we've been with Alpine since the very beginning, it's really amazing to see, especially like how much the org and we as people have grown. It's just really amazing to see to me.
That's awesome. And Freya, you're one of the most recently signed players here to the organization. They've gotten a lot of the kinks worked out, and the system is now flowing, embracing that Torrent energy. What was the signing process like for you?
I mean, the signing process was honestly very smooth. It was very straightforward. I felt like Dreadnought was really good about just laying everything out there, being very honest and open about what expectations for us would be, but more than that, just like really asking a lot of us, like, hey, what is it that you guys need? Like, what is it that you're looking for in the team that you want to join? Because we had multiple offers on the table from other organizations and that, and I just really appreciated the fact that he was the first one out of all of those other groups to just say, all right, but what is it that you need? What can we give you? Like, that was just really amazing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Wade, this is exactly the energy you talked about being the core of what you guys designed Torrent to be.
Yeah, and so it means a lot, honestly, to hear that from Freya. That's actually kind of the first time that I've ever gotten to hear her perspective. So thank you for that. All I can say is it's the first step, right? Like, by no means does that make you mean that you've achieved the goal. So I guess I just hope that we can utilize that same energy and honestly that same narrative and that level of transparency and honesty to really provide for everybody that we end up using and working with here under Torrent.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about Torrent though. Let's talk about the brand, and what it means, for you as players. Obviously, you have to represent this. And so far, what I've gotten unilaterally across the board is a lot of excitement from you guys. Majicbear, just what about the Torrent brand excites you most?
The thing that excites me most is probably just the colors and the design. I really like the design and on the jerseys, and that they're just really clean.
Yeah, they're super clean jerseys. Freya, what is it like? I mean, I've never gotten to experience this because I'm not a player. When you get a jersey in the mail that has your name on it, is there a certain like legitimacy that comes with that of like this is a real thing that's actually happening?
Oh yeah, I mean, for pretty much this entire time, I'd say. There's been many moments where myself and Pat's, Jazzy, Yi, all of us have just been like, this still doesn't feel real. This still doesn't feel real. But like once you end up actually having that day come when you start seeing everyone in the Discord freaking out, going, "Oh my gosh, my package just showed up!" and you run down to the mailbox, grab yours, and you open it up, and you finally have all of that before any of the world even knows what it looks like. You got your name on it, and it definitely feels like, oh yeah, this is real. This is a physical, tangible thing that shows you this is real and it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And Wade, one of the interesting things here for the Rocket League players specifically is there is an in-game counterpart to the jerseys that have been showing up in their mail. Did you guys think about this like extra layer of complication that it was of designing Rocket League decals for Torrent? Like how early in the process did that come into the picture?
I mean, when it came to designing it, it was really only until it was an opportunity, really, that we put too much concern towards it. But to be honest, it was just exciting. Really, okay. We've talked about the fluid elements of the brand and how diverse and creative it can be. So all you found was another medium to put it on, right? And that is always very, very exciting. Obviously, the opportunity to be involved in such an ecosystem like Rocket League and the RLCS is an absolute honor, and to be able to contribute like our brands towards elements within the game, super big thanks to the Psyonix team for making that a thing. But when it came to designing it, there was nothing daunting. Our designers just were excited to really kind of bring it to life in another lens.
Yeah, and Majicbear, I've heard, obviously you've been around since the beginning. This rebrand's been in the work for like 10 months. I've been told you got a part in, got some input in designing these decals. What sort of things did you consider when trying to build a decal that you would be excited to use on the pitch in game, but also that fans would be excited to wear to represent your team?
Yeah, it was definitely exciting to like give my input on the decal, just because like if a pro player like wears it, streams with it, then more people are gonna want to buy it. And just the way it looks, and the design team really killed it. And yeah, it's just probably one of my favorite decals right now.
My own personal question here, Magic, is why is Jordan so picky when it comes to specifically Dominus designs? Because my goodness, you were pretty easy to please, but Jordan, he was like, nope, this line can't do it, man. Gotta get rid of it.
Honestly, I don't know. Probably a question for Jordan. But the Dominus is pretty hard to like get a good design on, especially with just like lines and stuff.
Okay, well, Freya, you are a Dominus main. You've seen the Torrent decals. How did you feel when you saw that decal on a Dominus?
I mean, I'm so happy with it right now. Like, whatever Jordan told you to get rid of was probably for the best. But I'm kind of putting onto that, like you're saying, why is it important for there to be this line or that line? And with the Dominus, it's such a strange hitbox to work with that like some decals, just the way they shine differently, or especially with animated decals, like you kind of lose the visual ability to tell where your hitbox is in certain places, especially for dribbling and all of that. So I could definitely understand why he might have been a little bit more picky on that and saying, well, no, we kind of need to keep this clean design for this area, this area, this area.
Yeah, there's got to be a peace of mind that comes with knowing a pro player helped design this thing that I'm going to then use to try and win tournaments. So super cool to hear like Jordan and Majicbear getting to be a part of that process. Let's talk about Rocket League though for a second. I mean, you guys here, professional teams representing Torrent, Freya, the Women's Carball Championship coming up around the corner. What does it mean to have Torrent involved, and what are your expectations for the competition?
I mean, it's absolutely massive to have Torrent involved and be able to actually represent Torrent for this event. I helped a lot in kind of forming WCBC into what it is today. I was doing a lot of the design work for the initial 3 seasons that have happened so far. I've been doing a lot of admin work on the back end for them. And now I'm just finally able to kind of step back and put myself back into a player role and say, all right, this thing's running, let it do its thing. And now being able to go into like kind of my first full season on a squad and just having that org backing us, getting the coaching from Jonathan. Some of you might know him as Karan. He's absolutely fantastic. And it's just really cool seeing how the team as a whole is improving just so drastically week to week even right now. And I mean, as far as expectations go, it's really tough to figure out. Like I actually have a list that I've put together of just all of the different teams and trying to pick and choose, like, all right, what teams do I think we can beat? What teams do I think can beat us? But honestly, the skill gaps over the past few seasons have just closed in so much between all these players that I think the top 6 to I mean, even just the top 8 teams in general right now could shuffle around so much, just depending on how much work these girls put in over the next few weeks leading up to the WCBC Season 4 actually starting out. So, obviously, I want us to win, but it's going to be a tough road. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a challenge.
Well, I'm sure you guys are up for it. I'm really excited to watch that competition go down. Majicbear, RLCS just announced new formats, biggest changes in a long time. We just had RLCS X around that just happened. That was huge. What are your expectations? What are your thoughts going into the next season representing Torrent?
Yeah, my expectations are pretty high, but that's because I really do believe that we have the potential to do really good, and I hope that we actually do really good so I could finally play at Atlanta.
Me too. Land's coming back! That's all we care about, guy. Oh, so great. Hey, Freya, Majicbear, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Good luck in your competitions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always good to hear from the players, the beating heart of any esports organization here. What is it like for you to see them wearing the jerseys finally?
It's very fulfilling. I would say, it's obviously super exciting, but for them, especially players like Jordan and Majicbear, being a part of it from like day number 1 and us coming at them and going like, this is going to happen, for it to come to life and really brought to life. Like, yes, with this merchandise and everything, like seeing it on other people, yourself, myself, that has a layer of like, isn't this dope? But at the end of the day, the people who matter the most to the org and our players, finally getting to see them kind of repping and living what we've been trying to build and being excited about it means a lot.
For sure. It was wonderful getting to talk to them. And looking forward, we've talked a lot about what you guys have done to get us to this point. Now, looking to the future, what are you most excited about? What's coming up?
Well, there's a couple of things that I can definitely speak to, at least right now. I would definitely say one of the coolest things that I think we have to announce here today is that in the next couple of weeks that we will be basically highlighting where our headquarters is going to be located for Torrent, the home base where we are going to be, bringing in players, doing boot camps, a lot of content development out of it. So everybody, please look out for that. Again, just going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And then beyond that point, we also have a roster that we'll be announcing at the end of the month. Esports orgs, we got to have the players. We got to get the best rosters that we can get. So it's very exciting. And really, at the end of the day, I think the most exciting thing about the future is that, weirdly enough, this is just getting started, which I think is a very hard thing to internalize, but hopefully as we continue to grow as an organization, the fans and everybody here working on this project right now will really be able to kind of internalize and feel how much we have going for us and how much we're going to make happen.
Absolutely. Now, as we're like sitting here wrapping up a day of sharing so many things that you've been sitting on for so long, is there any final thoughts, final shout outs you want to make before we send people home?
I think probably the more fragile side of me goes, please be gentle with your feedback. But in reality, no, express yourself openly. I would just like to say, honestly, thank you to every fan at home. We legitimately would not be able to do any of this if it were not for you guys. And I understand that that's very cliche. Like, you do it for your fans, I do it for them, but like really at the end of the day, I hope we can communicate and showcase through our conversations today that is absolutely a core pillar of this organization. Our fans and our name, everything about our brand is representative of that. So thank you to each and every one of you. And then honestly, thank you to the team that made this happen. Not just today, Sam Langer, as we already spoke with, Jake Neerlin, Jake Dalby, a bunch of people worked on this project to be able to bring it to life. And so thank you everybody at Wisdom who's been able to help really make this happen. Could not have done it without them. And thank you to you for showing up here today. Honestly, just taking part in such an intimate and important moment within Torrent's life.
I've been enthusiastic about this moment. It's been super fun to be here. For the people at home, for Brian, I know that you're looking for this. He wants to buy this jacket. Where can he buy it?
Torrent.gg.
Torrent.gg. Go there for the merch. It's live right now, as well as all the other information you could possibly want to know about Torrent in the new future. It's going to be exciting. I'm Wave Punk. This has been Wade Penfold. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the future.